and he knows a lot about the libertarian movement, and he's been an ardent worker for freedom, and here he is to tell us his views on the libertarian movement, what we should do, what we can focus on to improve it, etc.
Well, I'm here at CPAC to really promote the libertarian movement, to promote what I think the future of the Republican Party should be. But I've given up on the Republicans. I think that the Republicans have it wrong when it comes to social issues. And by the way, for anyone that is a social conservative, I begrudge no one for being a social conservative. That you should change other people's lives by living your life by example, that's the way you change other people's lives. But when you make those changes through government policy, what you end up doing, in my opinion, is you end up criminalizing people for activities or actions that should, in fact, be personal choices. So I'm sideways when it comes to the Republican social right, when it comes to abortion, a woman's right to choose, marriage equality, immigration.
I interviewed Senator Santorum on those two issues, on DOMA and on abortion, and I think we have to do what I hope you're doing, I know I'm doing it, which is we have to engage them, and so they can see that they can have a different opinion about what to do, but it doesn't make any sense to impose their opinion by law, like you were saying, on other people. And that they're really, when I interview them, their position just collapses. For example, if you don't mind a little anecdote, with Santorum, he was arguing that the embryo deserves the same rights and protections as any other human being. So I asked him the obvious question. So suppose a lady commits an abortion and aborts her baby. What should be the penalty under the law? There's no penalty at all. So, well, is the embryo really getting that same protection as everybody else? Because usually when you murder someone, you get 20 years.
and moral teachings.
Do you think that the fetus should be afforded the same rights and protections as any other human being?
I think I just said that from the moment of conception, that entity is a human life and should be considered a person under the Constitution. We should not differentiate based upon a stage of life of development, or on the opposite end, because someone is disabled or someone is critically ill. We should not consider them less of a person and less afforded constitutional protections.
If a woman plans an abortion and performs the abortion, what criminal penalty should she receive?
None. I see a woman as a victim in the issue of abortion, not the perpetrator of the crime. That the person who's involved in the purveying of abortions and the marketing of abortions and providing those abortions should be subject to legal ramifications, whether it's licensure issues for a physician or whether it's criminal penalties. We certainly can we can certainly negotiate on what those are, but there needs to be penalties to those who provide abortions and take a human life.
But hasn't the woman committed a murder if the fetus is afforded the same rights and protections as any other human being?
Again, my feeling is just because something in this case is a grave moral wrong, I think there are extenuating circumstances in the case of a woman who puts herself in that situation, and obviously a difficult situation, and the person who's providing the service is the one who's actually killing the child. And so as a result of that, my feeling is that's where the penalty should lie.
So even though she has killed a human being, she should go off, she should get scot-free.
The person that killed.
Well, suppose she did it herself. Let's say with a hanger, like they used to do sometimes. You perform an auto-abortion by herself, and she planned it.
I have to look at cases like that. Obviously, that's a tragic situation. But I think the general consensus that I would try to arrive upon is that the person providing the abortion should be the one to suffer the penalties.
Okay, so if she did it herself, she should go to.
Like I said, I'm not really comfortable at this point saying whether that person should be charged with criminal penalties or not. I would say that a third party performing an abortion is the one that should be subject to criminal penalties.
Well, here in America, mostly when somebody commits a murder, they get like 20 years or life, at least 20 years. And if she commits abortion herself, she's not going to go to jail?
This is a great discussion to have when we have the situation in this country where abortion is outlawed. I'm not too sure it's necessarily a fruitful discussion to have at this point in time, given the fact that abortion on demand is legal up until every point. So I think we're arguing at this point about a very narrow issue where I think people of goodwill can disagree, and I think we'll just leave that as a discussion at this point.
Okay, well, previously it was illegal, right? And the women did go to jail and did suffer criminal penalties. You think that we should go back to that situation, or you don't think so?
I think I've been pretty clear about that.
Okay, so basically you think that if the woman commits an abortion herself, that she shouldn't go to jail? Or
I've said that now 4 times, so
I'll say
it again.
So, but that's kind of perplexing because for other murderers, we send them to prison for 20 years. There seems to be some incongruity. What's the reason why one murderer of a human being goes to jail for 20 years and another murderer of a human being doesn't go to jail?
My conviction is that the women, in the case of an abortion, at this point, where a third party is involved, which is, you can imagine, would be the dominant area where we would be concerned with, is a victim in that case, and that the person who's perpetrating the abortion is the one who's committing the crime.